Hi VC, it's Monday. I'll probably be uploading this maybe sometime during the week, but yes, a new update. I made it. I was off. I took a couple of weeks off work. Didn't do a lot, but anyway, the reason I'm making the video is primarily to show you this incredible charity shop stroke thrift shop find which I made last week, and while I'm at it I'll show you some other charity shop finds that I've been meaning to show as well for a while. But this find, it's in a shop that generally I noticed they had a pile of new vinyl. I had a look through it. Most of it was really that Olivia Newton-John, kind of light classical, but then I came across this. Now, I recognise this cover straight away. For those of you who are not aware, this is a band called Dr. Strangely Strange, and yes, they are a band that Kevin of the VC, Kevin Strangely Strange, named himself after. They were a band from Ireland, folk band, but not your kind of general, definitely kind of acid folk. They had quite a lot in common with the Incredible String Band. In fact, they collaborated a lot. But anyway, this is their second album. It's called Heavy Petting. It was released in 1970 on the Vertigo label. It comes complete with the bag. I'll just point out I haven't been able to play this yet because I still need to get a replacement needle for my stereo. But it looks like it's been played, but there's no kind of well, obviously it's been played, but it looks in okay condition. There's no deep scratches, but yeah, this is an incredibly rare album. I think it's the first time I've ever come across an OG of this, or seen an OG of this in the wild, even considering, you know, record fairs. It came out in this extremely complicated a gimmick sleeve, which I think the idea is it's supposed to sit like this. Here you have this photo of the band, and now one of the panels has become detached. Yeah, Dr. Strangely Strange, a band from Dublin. They were active in the late 60s, early 70s. Part of the, and I must say, very, very small hippie scene in this country at the time. Ireland of the 60s and even into the 70s, and indeed, as I remember in the 80s, it was quite a conservative place. You know, they were very much kind of going against the grain, these guys. Gary Moore, actually, Gary Moore, who would go on to play with Thin Lizzy, is actually on this album as well, as is Dave Mattox. Dave Mattox of Fairport Convention. Oh yeah, and it's produced as well by Joe Boyd. Joe Boyd, yeah, he's a figure kind of closely associated with that whole scene. Yeah. Oh yeah, the cover is actually by Roger Dean as well. Yeah, that is an early Roger Dean cover, which I presume he did the backdrop. But yeah, an incredibly rare. I know it's been reissued in recent years, but originals of this are pretty, pretty, yeah. And to pick it up for €1, and especially amongst the stuff that I found I think it may be a leftover from. I had a previous score at that charity shop about 6 months ago. Now somebody beat me to that, but I did manage to pick up. I showed that stuff before. I picked up one Soft Machine album, but I think this might be a leftover from that particular donation. But yeah, really, really happy with that find. This is just something you do not expect to come across in a charity shop. I can tell you. Whoops. Yeah, I have to be very careful putting it back in the sleeve, because the gimmick sleeve is quite fragile. Yeah, Dr. Strangely Strange, Heavy Petting, Vertigo, 1970. While I'm here, I'll show you some other charity shop finds that I've made over the last. Some of these go back to the end of last year, and the things that I've been meaning to show for. Yeah, this is something I found nearly a year ago, but I just never got around to showing it. I think I possibly might have found this in the same charity shop. Yeah, so Alice Cooper, when it was still the Alice Cooper Band, $1 Billion Babies. Again, another kind of interesting sleeve. There's some stickers actually. Not all of the stickers are present, but I think it was like a panel of stickers, possibly here. But yeah, it's this weird kind of die-cut sleeve. It doesn't have. This would originally come with an insert, a dollar bill insert, which is not present, unfortunately. But still, I like Alice Cooper's early albums, such as this. Yeah, $1 Billion Babies. It's pretty. You're all pretty familiar with this, I'm sure. No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I Loved Dead, the title track, and yeah. So that was I picked up this it's nearly a year ago now, but I've just never quite gotten around to showing it among all my other, or just fitting it in. So yeah, so there we go. And some more interesting recent charity shop finds. Yeah, I discovered a new charity shop about a few weeks ago. Or sorry, well, actually no, it's a few months ago now. Actually, it's a bit, it's a bit in the suburbs. One that I haven't previously been to, but I made some nice finds. Found 3 albums by Vangelis. This is one I've been looking for a long time. Opera Sauvage, which I think is from 79. It's not particularly rare or anything, but I have seen it around in second-hand music shops. They're usually just looking for that bit too much for it. Yeah, but picked it up for €3 from this charity shop, so sounds pretty good. I think is it no, that's also in the same spot. Also picked up this. This is called Boo Boberg, which I think came out, originally in 1978. This is the 1983 reissue with a different cover art. It had a totally different cover, the original release, and yeah. So this is this is a reissue on the Fame label. This is an interesting one. This is quite experimental. In fact, it's kind of almost kind of elements of music concrete, but yeah, it's quite more experimental than a lot of the other stuff that he's putting out at around the same time. But I mean, I can fully appreciate any kind of weird out there stuff. So yeah, Boberg. Yeah, it's basically in the form of two very long pieces, and one final Vangelis album. This is a slightly later one, which I wasn't really that familiar with. At first I thought this was the soundtrack to, because he does do a lot of soundtracks. I thought it was a soundtrack to a nature show or film, but it's not actually. It's a studio album. It's called Soil Activities, and this is from 1984. So it does have rather more kind of 80s feel to it. Yeah, this is an Irish pressing. So at first glance it looks exactly the same as the UK pressing, but it does have Made in Ireland on the label, and then there's a double dip label, which is apparently one way of telling, because they don't always state that it was made in Ireland. But anyway, yeah, pleasantly surprised by this album. It's one that I wasn't really familiar with. Yeah, so three very nice Vangelis finds. In the same place, I also picked up this Close Encounters of the Third Kind, music from Close Encounters by the Interplanetary Sound Workshop and Orchestra. Their interpretation of the Close Encounters soundtrack, quite different to the John Williams. Yeah, this is very kind of reminds me a little bit. There's a lot of electronic kind of moog. Reminds me a little bit of kind of what the BBC Radiophonic Workshop